Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to crochet these easy holly and berries that can be used to embellish a lot of different crochet projects. There are a lot of different ways to crochet them, depending on the look you're going for. This is just one example. You can use any yarn and crochet hook that you like. I used a medium 4-weight yarn with a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. To crochet the holly, select a green color that you like. Start with the slip knot and chain 11. You'll want to chain somewhat loosely so that it's easier to get into the stitch. I'll be working in the back bumps of the chain for this project. You don't have to, you can just go into the back loop, but when you work into the back bump, it's a little easier to identify the stitches when we work around the chain. You'll see what I mean in a bit. Single crochet in the second chain from the hook. This is where you insert your hook if you're working into the back loop, and this is where you insert the hook if you're going into the back bump. Single crochet in the next stitch. Half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Single crochet in the next stitch. You'll have 1 chain left. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the last chain. Your work should look like this. You can put a stitch marker into the chain 2 space so that it's easier to identify when we do the next round. I went back and placed a stitch marker into the first stitch of the round. Now we'll work on the other side of the chain. Single crochet in the next stitch. Half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Double crochet in the next 2 stitches. You can see it's definitely easier to identify what stitch you're in because we crocheted the first row in the back bump. Half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Slip stitch into the last stitch of this side. By putting a stitch marker in the first stitch of the last round, we can easily see which is the last stitch of this side. Your work should look like this. Chain 1 and slip stitch into the same stitch. You can place a stitch marker into the chain 1 space so that it's easier to identify in the next round. Now we work on the next side. Single crochet in the next stitch. We'll make a picot stitch. Chain 3 and slip stitch into the first chain. Single crochet in the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 3. We'll do another picot stitch by doing a slip stitch into the first chain. Single crochet in the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 3. Slip stitch into the first chain. Single crochet in the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. We're at the chain 2 space. Single crochet, chain 3, slip stitch into the first chain. Single crochet back into that chain 2 space. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 3. Slip stitch into the first chain to form a picot stitch. Single crochet into the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 3. Slip stitch into the first chain to form a picot stitch. Single crochet into the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next stitch. Single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 3. We'll form the last picot by doing a slip stitch into the first chain. Single crochet in the next stitch. Slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. Cut the yarn, leaving a long tail if you want to use it for sewing. We'll end with an invisible finish. Thread the tail onto a yarn needle. Insert it from front to back into the first stitch of the round. Bring the yarn forward and insert the needle between the two top loops of the last completed stitch. That's an invisible finish. You can sew in the tail if you don't need it. Repeat the previous steps to make a second leaf. Make sure one of the leaves has a long tail so that you can sew the pieces together at the end. Now we'll work on the berries. Start with the magic ring. I use the double ring method. You'll find a link to that tutorial in the description box below. Chain 1 and put 6 single crochets into the magic ring. After the last stitch, go ahead and close the ring. Round 2 is an increase round. We'll put 2 single crochets into each of the 6 stitches from the previous round. At the end of the round, you'll have 12 stitches. For round 3, we'll put 1 single crochet into each stitch from the previous round. At the end of the round, you'll have 12 stitches. Repeat round 3 2 more times. Pause the video and I'll meet you at the beginning of round 6. After completing 5 rounds, your work should look like this. Round 6 is a decrease round. We'll do an invisible decrease. Insert your hook into the front loop only of the next 2 stitches. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's an invisible decrease. We'll repeat that 5 more times. At the end of the round, you'll have 6 stitches. Start stuffing the berry. Cut the yarn, leaving a long tail for sewing. Thread the yarn onto a yarn needle. To close the berry, we'll insert the needle through the front loop only of all 6 stitches from the last round. Pull the yarn to close the hole. Hide the tail inside the berry. Repeat rounds 1 through 6 to complete 2 more berries so that we have a group of 3. Once you have 3 berries, we'll sew them together. Make sure one of your berries has a long tail. Sew the berries together, going through as many times as you need to make sure they're secure. Now we'll put all of the pieces together. Make sure one of the holly leaves has a long tail. Holding the holly leaves the way you want them to lay, and sew the leaves together. Make sure you're going through both layers. Or you can use my preferred method, which is using Fabri-Tac instead of sewing. You can fasten off and sew in the tail, or use the same tail to attach the berries to the leaves. If you're sewing the berries to the leaves, just make sure you're sewing through all 3 berries to ensure that it's securely attached. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please support my channel by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel if you're new.